Remote work is now a normal part of how many teams operate, not a special exception. The challenge is that most security programs were built around offices, managed devices, and networks you could see and control. Now you have staff connecting from apartments, houses, and coffee shops, often on networks you will never touch. This Tuesday, Insights feature in Bare Metal Cyber Magazine focuses on remote work security for home networks and bring your own device, BYOD. The goal is to give you a calm, workable way to think about that last mile between the user at home and the systems you protect, without turning every living room into a branch office.
A good starting point is to see remote work security as a pattern, not a product. It is the combination of policies, technical controls, and everyday habits that decide how people connect from home networks and personal devices to the services they need. It stretches across identity and access management, endpoint security, remote access tools, and data protection. Vendors may sell you a gateway, an agent, or a zero-trust solution, but what actually protects you is the way these parts fit together into clear paths that users can follow and that you can monitor.
Remote work security lives in three main layers. At the edge, there is the home network and Wi-Fi, which often includes smart TVs, game consoles, and many devices you do not control. Next is the device used for work, which might be a fully managed laptop, a lightly managed personal computer, or a phone that is entirely personal. Finally, there are the applications and data being accessed, spread across on-premises systems, multiple clouds, and software-as-a-service platforms. Remote work security is the way you connect these layers so that risk stays manageable and visibility does not disappear just because someone is working from their kitchen table.
BYOD is one of the most sensitive parts of this picture. Allowing staff to use personal devices for work can ease friction and reduce pressure on your hardware budget, but it also means you do not fully control the device that touches your data. It helps to draw clear lines between fully managed devices, partially managed devices, and unmanaged devices. Each category should come with different permissions. For example, a managed laptop might be allowed to reach internal systems, while an unmanaged phone is limited to email and calendar through a secured app.
When you look at how remote work security actually works day to day, identity usually comes first. A user logs into their laptop or phone, then authenticates to your identity provider, ideally with a strong second factor. From there, they reach your systems through a virtual private network, a modern secure access gateway, or direct connections to cloud and software-as-a-service platforms that trust your identity provider. At each hop, you can apply policy about who can reach what, from which device, under which conditions.
Because you rarely control home routers or personal Wi-Fi setups, your strongest control points are the device and the access path. On managed endpoints, you can enforce disk encryption, endpoint protection, and configuration baselines. Along the access path, you can require multi-factor authentication, check device posture, and apply basic protections such as domain name system filtering or web isolation for risky sites. These are the places where you translate remote work from random internet traffic into known users and known devices following defined patterns.
A simple end-to-end example makes this concrete. Picture a user on a managed laptop working from home. They authenticate with multi-factor, pass a device health check that confirms encryption and recent patches, and then connect through a secure access gateway to collaboration tools and internal applications. Your monitoring can tie their actions back to an identity record, a device record, and the remote access session. When something suspicious happens, you are not staring at a random home internet address. You are looking at activity from a specific user on a specific laptop across a specific connection.
Everyday use cases are where remote work security really shows up. Think about the coffee shop sprint, where someone moves from home Wi-Fi to a public hotspot and back again in a single day. Controls must tolerate frequent network changes without dropping connections or forcing awkward workarounds. Another common pattern is the hybrid worker, who spends part of the week in the office and part at home. For them, the remote experience should feel like an extension of the office, not a completely different world with different tools and rules. There are also practical use cases built around BYOD. A common quick win is to support business email and calendar access on personal phones using a secure mobile app or container, while keeping sensitive systems reserved for managed laptops. This approach reduces temptations such as forwarding email to personal accounts or using consumer storage to move files. It gives people just enough access on personal devices to be effective without opening the door to everything.
More strategic patterns require deeper changes, but provide stronger long-term benefits. Some organizations design remote-first workflows for privileged access and incident response, so responders can safely work from anywhere when it matters. That might include just-in-time access for administrators, stronger device posture checks, and recording of high-risk sessions. Another long-term pattern is to move more applications behind modern identity-aware access controls, so the same identity signals and policies apply whether a user is in the office or at home.
When you invest in remote work security with clear intent, the first payoff is stability. People can work from home without constant friction, which lowers the odds that they will fall back on unsafe shortcuts. Support teams benefit too, because they deal with a small number of known patterns instead of endless one-off exceptions. Over time, this consistency makes it easier to understand what normal remote access looks like and to spot meaningful deviations.
Resilience is another major benefit. If offices are suddenly unavailable, staff can keep working safely from home because the patterns are already in place. Managed devices are ready, access paths are well understood, and BYOD policies are clear. During an incident, responders can connect from wherever they are without losing the ability to trace their own actions or see what is happening in the environment. Remote work becomes an asset for continuity instead of a scramble.
The trade-offs are real. Managing laptops, mobile devices, and access gateways requires tools, time, and skills. BYOD controls can raise privacy concerns, especially if staff worry that security software will reach into their personal photos or messages. Performance problems, poorly chosen rules, or confusing user experiences can push people towards unofficial tools that sit outside your protections. There is also a practical limit to how much control you should try to exert over someone's home network. Most organizations will be better served by providing guidance and focusing formal controls on identity, devices, and access paths. Remote work security often fails quietly before anything makes the news. One early warning sign is a growing pile of temporary exceptions that never expire, such as standing access from unmanaged devices or bypass paths for certain teams. Another warning sign is the kind of support ticket where users say they skipped standard tools because they were too slow or unreliable. When your intended patterns do not match how people actually work, security debt accumulates in the background. Shallow adoption has its own look and feel. You might see modern remote access tools deployed, but legacy virtual private networks kept around just in case, with no plan to remove them. Endpoint agents might be installed, but alerts from remote users are noisy and never properly tuned, so analysts start to ignore them. On paper, it looks as if you have remote work security in place. In practice, the organization still relies on old habits and blind spots. Healthy signals look different. Over time, remote access patterns become more standardized instead of more fragmented. The number of policy exceptions shrinks rather than grows. Users and support staff can describe the normal way to connect in simple, consistent language. You can track ratios such as how many remote sessions come from managed devices versus unmanaged ones, or how many privileged tasks are performed from devices that do not meet your standards. When something goes wrong, you can reconstruct events from identity logs, endpoint telemetry, and remote access records, instead of piecing together partial network traces. At its heart, remote work security for home networks and BYOD is about creating a small number of safe, understandable ways for people to reach what they need, while preserving visibility and control in the right places. It sits at the intersection of identity, endpoints, and access architecture, but you feel it most in the daily habits of how people connect and work.
As you look at your own environment, the goal is not perfect control over every home and every device. The real goal is to gently shape remote work into patterns that your security program can see, support, and defend over time.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.